Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Mindability Matters, where, as ever, we are talking to some of the fabulous people that we've worked with, business owners who really want to make a difference in the world of work. And I am delighted to have Naomi with us today. Try saying that quickly on a Friday afternoon, Naomi. Naomi, welcome.
Oh, thank you for having me, Sam. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's lovely to be here. So I'd love you to introduce yourself. I know you as the fabulous human being you are, but let everyone know the company you're building and just a little bit more about what you're doing.
What I'm doing. Okay. So about a year ago, I started a company called the HRologist. So it's a bit of a venture. I've enjoyed it. It's been a challenge at times, as anybody in business and a new business would probably know. Um, so I blend psychology with HR essentially. Um, and I've been kind of in HR since I was 18. Didn't know what I wanted to do when I left school, that kind of traditional route. And so I did an apprenticeship in local authorities and ended up in a what was known as personnel way back then,
Mm,
and just worked my way up really the traditional way.
I love it. And Naomi, what's the dream? What's the outcome that you'd love to achieve with your business for your clients?
I'd like to see employees being treated better in the workplace. That's my ultimate aim. And I say that because I've seen some really bad practices, I would say, over the course of my career. Some really good, some really bad, but I think we carry those with us, and that has an impact on the business overall across time. So ultimately, I think this, I think it's coming. Like the power, there's been a power shift more so recently with the government changes, and I think that may continue if we're with the Labour government. Um, for employees to have more of a voice in the workplace.
Yeah, it's much needed, isn't it? That kind of it's a real fine balance I'm finding with, we've got these what I think really prehistoric leaders saying, "Oh, we can return to the office is mandated," and others saying, "Well, hang on a
Mm,
minute, actually, employees need to stop bleating. We used to do it that way, so why can't we go back?" And it's almost that happy medium of that relationship we keep talking about between the employer and the employee has changed so much. Um, I find it astounding that so many companies are still playing catch up and still playing that parent-child relationship.
yeah, yeah, so do I. I think that for me, it needs to be a more individualized approach moving forward. And I know that's a big challenge for businesses because everybody's got an individual need and an individual way of how they want to work to get the most productive outcome. Some people will prefer to be in the office 5 days a week, 9 till 5, however that looks for them. Some will like the hybrid because they want that sense of community and connection with their own people, prefer to work from. And I get that that's how it is for, we all like different things. And I think employers need to recognize those differences
Yeah.
and bring people along on that journey with them. Maybe, I don't know, using like hubs or something that are spotted around the country, say for big organisations, for example, that people can come together and work together, or co-working spaces where they meet if they want to. But there's so many operating systems out there now to globally work together in different time zones. And why shouldn't we be working with those talents and using that diverse range of knowledge to make us more productive? We're in a digital transformation, aren't we, right now?
Yeah.
And it's fast and it's volatile. And I think that's not going to change. It's going to keep on getting faster because if you think what was it, 1996, I think I first had like a proper go on a computer, like a Windows computer, and how far we've come since then. And with the introduction of AI over the past couple of years, and that's now picking up pace, I think we're going to see a big change. And we can't do that alone. We need to come together as a community, as a global community, to ensure that we're keeping up with the pace, really.
Totally. I think, I often think if you said that at 50 years of age, I'd be tinkering with all sorts of different video platforms and cutting and editing videos. Thank you, Toby, for helping me and teaching me to do that. Using things like Restream, just how we market, how that the world has changed. And it's kind of, I almost feel that the likes of you and I are talking about that the whole time. But when you look at the great work that you're now doing and achieving with your clients, what's their biggest thing that they're blinkered with that's going to blindside them over the next 12 to 18 months, do you think?
I think there's probably quite a few things, but I think it's really difficult for HR consultants and HR professionals to get some business leaders to understand the value of their people rather than seeing them as an expense, or they're having that lowered profit margin because of X, Y, and Z. And I think that obviously we use data, which is great, and I love a bit of data, and being data driven is part of human resources, right?
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes I feel that we're forgetting that they're people. We're human beings. We have emotions, and sometimes if the HR process isn't handled in the best way, it has significant impacts on people's lives. So we're using that data to make informed decisions, but we're not necessarily following the right steps to support that human being through whatever transformation that needs to be. I mean, we all know we have to make tough business decisions, but it's about supporting that individual in the best way. So you're exiting that situation in the best way possible.
And I think you've just called the elephant in the room, haven't you? Which is, making these tough decisions, still being human about it, but recognizing that balance and that fine line. And I think HR often get accused of being the ones that put people first, with little comprehension about the fact that actually what we're trying to do is create a world of work where we're creating more of a community-based feeling, and one where it's more of a relationship and a partnership, as opposed to quite a dictatorial one, which I remember from when I first started working, which was, you're going to get this done and you're going to stay till you get it done. Don't you know how lucky you are to work for this company and have this job? I just don't think that, several generations beneath me would even take that now. It's like, you're
No,
kidding me. I'm
definitely
not
not.
doing it.
No, definitely not. And of course, when you think about leaders, like the top C-suite leaders, so on and so forth, they're going to be around our age group. So they're going to have experienced, as you say, that dictatorial style, authoritarian, not authoritative, style of leadership, where, what they say goes. And surely there's going to be still some elements of that maybe sometimes slip into some leaders, and that's okay. But it's about recognizing that you need to develop, about doing that self-reflection piece, that self-management piece, because if you're not in tune with yourself and how you're managing your emotions and how you're speaking to other people, you can't manage your team effectively. And it's about really getting into understanding your team as individuals. They're not just outputs, they are individuals, and they're all motivated in different ways. But yeah, I think there needs to be a shift in leadership. I think there might be, I don't know, out there, a new style of leadership in the future that might hone in, because as you've rightly said, the new generation, the Gen Zs coming through now, then we've got the Gen Alphas to come, they just won't accept that kind of behaviour from other people. They want to be spoken to with respect, and they're very purpose driven, and they will leave a job if that company's not serving them. Whereas when we was at work, when we were younger, we did what we were told. We turned up to work when we had to turn up to work. There was that expectation, and you didn't go away from that. But I think that's now flipping on its head, because Gen Zers want to fit, I always get this the wrong way around, fit work around their lives almost. Whereas we was like, well, this is what we do, this is how we work, and we fit our life around the pockets of time that we've got around. They're very well being focused, aren't they, the Gen Zers? That's what's important to them.
Yeah, and I like that. And it's, you know, again, going back to something you said earlier, the purpose driven and connecting that purpose with the organization that they're working for, you kind of got your work cut out with that right now.
Yeah,
Going
absolutely.
into, you know, 2025, whatever that year brings for us, that change, as we said, is ever constant and speeding up the whole time. You know, world affairs in general are having a massive impact on us. And that's surely got to come into play, and is you're seeing come into play. You know, this country, we've got a Labour government who are intent on increasing taxes. You know, whoever you blame and whoever you feel you need to blame on that, it's recognizing that. But along with that comes that kind of other thing that's coming into this now, which is fear. You know, companies and business owners and leaders saying about next year, well, look, this is what we think it's going to be, but we might have to have quite a flexible forecast here because we just can't call it. How is that impacting some of the work that you're seeing? That kind of, I feel like it's a greater unknown almost.
It is a greater unknown. It has to be, because we're very uncertain, aren't we, right now?
Yeah.
And I don't have the answers. I can't say that I have a solid answer, but all we can do is lean on each other and collaborate and build that community while we adjust to the changes that lie ahead, I would
Yeah.
say.
And you certainly with your psychology side of the house, with what you do and what you deliver, I can certainly see how that's going to be of massive benefit to organizations next year when they're looking at the pragmatic part, which is we want to help our people and support them, but at the same time we're having to run a business. There's a huge piece around that they don't necessarily need to understand. It's kind of the, can you help us fix it, or can you help us make it better, I'm guessing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that comes back to what I was saying earlier about that individualized approach. And I know that that's probably not feasible, but maybe we have different, at the moment, we have an employee experience journey. We have an induction process, for example. But everybody follows the same journey, don't they? But we're not all the same, are we?
No, this is it.
So, and I feel like that needs to change. We need to recognise the differences in people and not necessarily completely individualise and tailor to everybody. But maybe there are certain, like, you know, you think about MBTI or something like
Oh
that, or
yeah.
one of if you could blueprint, well, you're going to enjoy this employee journey because you're this kind of person, and you tailor those journeys to that person. But that comes about with understanding those applicants and those candidates that are coming through before they've really started,
Oh
you
yeah.
know. And I've been in recruitment processes, and I'm sure you have, where I've done like fancy questionnaires about how you perform, how you work, how you communicate. I can't remember what it's called, but it was a very in-depth one. But maybe that's something to leverage for businesses moving forward, that they understand their employees that are coming in. But don't get me started on the whole recruitment thing, because that's just terrible at the moment, isn't it? The ATS systems are just
Oh, the joy of the ATS, Naomi. Yeah, let's not go down on Friday.
let's not go
Let's not go
down
there.
there. But
And
yeah,
it's funny you talk about the whole recruitment process. I remember there was one that I did years ago, and you had to follow an interview, an automated voice asking you questions, and then you answer those questions. So you actually didn't meet a human being till round three. And of course, my background has been HR consultancies and building HR consultancies. And this was kind of going in to build a, a quite an in-depth consultancy at the time. And I thought, bearing in mind we're meant to be bringing our people in to help build your people, I haven't seen a person until the third stage of interviews, and I kind of thought, you're missing the point here. You're hiring me to go and build the relationships and build out a huge geographical zone, and yet I haven't spoken to a single person yet.
no, I had a very weird experience as well, and we'll move on after this, but it was speaking to an AI person. It wasn't actually a person. And it was just like speaking to yourself, answering yourself in an interview. It was just so bizarre. I didn't like it at all. It felt very dehumanized, because it was. There was
Yeah.
nobody to connect with apart from this AI looking bot. I didn't like it.
No, not a fan. Not a fan at
No,
all.
not a fan, not a fan, not at all. But hey ho, things will hopefully get better.
And you know what? I think it's about, and it is all part of how we move forward and how we evolve in terms of services, and the outcomes we give our clients. I think part of that is, yes, we've got these great tools. Classic earlier on today, we've been working on our marketing and sales strategy since October, but I've actually plugged it into different pieces of AI, and and I'm challenging it and responding it and asking it to think. Very different to how I did it last year. Yes, I'm talking to members of our team, but I think that's, it demonstrates that we've obviously got a long way to go, but if we work
Mm.
with it rather than
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
isolated pieces like you and I have both spoken about, it does make life so much easier.
Absolutely, absolutely. Of course it does. I mean, it's something AI is not going away. It's something that we all need to embrace, and it's just going to grow, isn't it, over time and develop. I think we're in the very early stages of its capabilities, but I don't see it as a threat necessarily. I don't know what your views are. I think it will it will allow humans to have more space and time to relax and have our well-being, because sometimes our workloads can be quite high, and I think some of those automations and that AI will alleviate some of those really tedious tasks. I mean, I'd love to see a robotic cleaner. I mean, that would just be my dream.
It's probably out there, Naomi. We just need to find it. Just get that on board.
Looks like a human being that comes around and tidies. That would be my absolute dream.
I mean,
With having 5 children, I'm like, yeah, I can't keep up anymore.
exactly. Just give me a robot.
Just give me a robot.
I love that. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so much is changing, and I know we've talked about that, but as you look forward for your business, and as I said, kind of the evolution of the great work you're now doing for your clients, where would your where would you like your clients to be in, say, 4 or 5 years time? What would you like to see from them achieving?
From the client's point of view,
Yeah.
I think it's almost a little bit like a step back to go forward, isn't it? That's how
Yeah.
I feel about it. And I'll give an analogy. Um, we've become quite a throwaway society, right? So if you think about, your grandparents and my grandparents, they would get married and they would buy furniture, and it would be part of their marriage for their whole life. It was built to last. And that same model and approach applies to workplaces, because you had a job and we had a job for life pretty much. Now, yes, I know that's like stepping back in time, but there's some lessons to be learned by that, I would say, in
Yes.
terms of, you can't say, yes, we've evolved as humans, because humans are forever evolving. And moving forwards, I think we're very similar. We're still similar. It's just that employers back then treated employees well, supported them through different life challenges, because you're not saying that our grandparents didn't have life challenges. They must have done, like
Oh,
we have life challenges now. But what I find is, because we've become that throwaway society, like the analogy with the furniture, I think sadly it's slipping into relationships. You don't see marriages lasting as long anymore. You don't see people being kept for a long time in jobs, whether that's through their choice or whether they're managed out or whatever, however you want to call it. But I think that's a piece that really strikes me, that it's nobody's fault that we've become this throwaway society, because furniture and things aren't made in the same way. They're made so we go out and buy another one in 5 years or something. But I think because we have that mentality around people. And that's the key for me that needs to change. And we need to somehow explain that in business terms, because as you and I know, when people are happy and they're valued and they're supported in their work, there's a 13% increase in their productivity. So let's just think about that as numbers for a second. So say without any on cost, you've got £1 million a month in salary costs across your whole business. So if you invest in your time and your time in employees and money into your employees, your return on that investment to encourage your employees to be individually happy, supported, have autonomy, then that's £130,000 per month that you've got in return, because you're supporting your employees, because you're flexible with them, because you're not rigid. Who's to say that we have to work at this hour to this hour? Of course, there are some roles, like caring roles, that do have to work fixed hours, but where we can be more flexible, why aren't we being more flexible? Why are we so rigid?
I think that's a great question. And yeah, forgive me, I was so engrossed with Naomi's conversation. I've left the chats. Hi
Sorry.
Toby, hi Beth, hi Marcia, great to see you. Great comment as well. For all we can see is LinkedIn user. But actually that's a great, I love your question. Let's ask everyone who's listening. What do you think the answer to that is? Is there one? It's but breaking it down to how you've just broken it down, for those who are skeptical and cynical about the whole positioning of being more flexible with people, with encouraging that work life balance, etc., you've just demonstrated the financial return of that. There've also been lots of companies in the last 10-15 years who've appreciated and understood that if you encourage your people to have interests outside of work, you give them the time off to do that, to get better at sport, to maybe pursue a small little business on the side. And some larger companies have actually invested in that. It might only be £1,000 or $1,000, but the point is that employee has come back and has learned a new skill set that can be brought back into the business
Yes, absolutely.
and utilized. So absolutely, that whole point about that flexibility is so important. Naomi, I want
It
to go
really
back to
is.
something you were talking about, the onboarding, because that's going
Okay.
through my mind right now, which is a more flexible onboarding for different people.
Mm.
What could that look like?
Well, that's a very interesting question. And I was in Leeds yesterday at the Thrive Summit, and something really cool was there. It was called, I don't know whether you've heard of it, it was called Thomas, a company
No.
called Thomas. And they blew me away, completely blew me away. And it was AI. And obviously it's in its early stages. And of course, AI learns, right?
Yeah.
So it asked about 25 questions, and or everybody in the room had to say whether they were more agreeable with one and less agreeable with another on all of the questions. And then it kind of gave you a bit of a profile of what kind of person you were.
Wow.
So the idea behind it is that you then share that across your organization. So you open up your profile for everybody to be able to see. But the coolest bit about it was you could actually ask an AI bot a question, and like, say for example, how does Naomi best like to be managed? And it would then review that question against my profile and give, say, my manager a idea of how to communicate with me. And you could apply that to so many different scenarios. So going back to your question about that employee experience, if we had some idea of the type of people that we're bringing in, and we need that diversity
Mm.
because that's what helps us make informed, ethical, good decisions. We need that devil's advocate to make those decisions and innovate. If somebody's not there trying to play devil's advocate, you might miss something. Anyhow, so I think if we use something similar to that, we might have an idea of the people that we're bringing in, and then we could then funnel that down into an experience that might suit that person. So it could be a blueprint, but there might be different elements, like learning styles. We're all different learners, right?
Yeah.
Like we're all different. We're either typical, atypical, or we're neurodiverse. So that's going to have an impact. And of course, we know more about neurodiversity now than we ever have. And that's going to continue. We're having late diagnoses of neurodiversity as well. We need to accommodate for all of that. It shouldn't be an afterthought.
Yeah.
It should be, we go to work and all the tools are provided for us. And I'm not saying that reasonable adjustment shouldn't exist, because there's always going to be an element of there's a different need. And I get that. But if we know, I think I've probably digressed a little bit here, so I do apologise.
Not at all.
But if we know that a certain amount of people really enjoy noise cancelling headphones, let's say, that could, they don't have to be neurotypical and they don't have to be neurodivergent. If it helps them in the workplace, it helps them. And I saw something recently on a social media, which we've all seen the equity one, which is
Yeah.
like, and it was similar to that, but it was about having a lowered curb, and you've probably seen it yourself, for a wheelchair user.
Mm.
That by putting a lowered curb in for a wheelchair user, you're helping parents and carers with pushchairs. You're helping parcel delivery guys with their trolleys going to, stacked boxes and going to deliver something, because they don't have to try and hoist the trolley up onto the curb. They've got a drop curb. And that same scenario applies in the workplace to so many different areas. You're not
Yeah,
just making it better for one, you're making it better for everybody.
yeah, and it's just, again, it's that diversity of what that one little thing, that the difference that can make.
I would like to say I've got an autistic child and he's 6 now, and he doesn't fit into the school modelling system, and he learns at home. I would like to see a world of work for him when he's ready to go out in the world of work, that he doesn't have to say, I'm autistic. He does, unless he wants to. I don't want him to have to say, I'm autistic. I want him to be able to go out into the world of work feeling empowered, feeling supported, and not feeling like there's any judgment by needing something extra, because it should already be there.
Yeah, we've come a long way, haven't we?
Yeah, absolutely we have.
And
Absolutely we have
there's still a long way to
to
go with
go.
that. Naomi, with that in mind, and thank you for sharing that, because obviously it's something that I know that you and I have spoken about at great length, but it was very much up to you to bring that up today. So I really thank you for sharing that with everyone. And in your day-to-day work and your goals with the business, obviously it has a huge impact, but how does that drive you forward with some of the work that you're delivering today?
I think it just empowers you, doesn't it? If it's something, I don't know, it's emotive, isn't it? If it's something to
Yeah,
do with a child and you can see there's a need out there for other people in the similar situations, every parent wants to make life as good as they can for their child. But in doing so, it's just passion. It's just that passion, isn't it, to make it better?
yeah,
But you're not making it better for one, you're making it better for all. And I
that's a
think
good
that's what drives me. I like helping other people, like we all do, I guess, because otherwise we wouldn't be business owners.
yeah.
That's the driving force behind most business owners is, yes, of course, the world revolves around money, but we want to make a difference. We want to help. We can see something that's missing and we want to fill it.
I love that. And what have been your highlights this year and the difference you've made in the work you've done? What have been some of the highlights that, we're coming to the end of the year? I mean, who knew? It's gone by way too fast this year. It needs to slow the frick down just for a
It
little bit,
really does.
please.
I'm not ready for
Um,
Christmas yet.
but what have been some of your highlights in terms of what you've been able to do and the difference you've made in the world of work?
You said that you think some of that work has actually materialised yet, because it's been a lot of work in progress. So I started, like I said, last October, and I took an early client on that was a startup business, and I did the consulting, so I put the foundations in place. And I've obviously coached along the way as well. But I think being a business owner opened my mind really far, and I did some quite deep personal work with nobody at first, and I really dug into who am I? Who actually am I? Because I think a lot of us lose our identities in the corporate world. Well, I definitely did. I felt like I didn't know who I was. I had no confidence. I couldn't even voice note Michelle Hartley. That's how little confidence I had when I left the corporate world. She would send me a voice note, and I was too ashamed for my voice to be heard on that voice note to send one back. I am millions of miles away from that now,
Yeah, thank
you
goodness.
know. Um, and I think it's just been an empowering journey. It's been tough, like riding the waves. There was a steep learning curve in the first 3 months. And I think, sorry, I'm going back to what you said now. Digging into these core values, what are in me, made me realise that I've got so much to offer and so much to give the world. And then I started to notice gaps, and my brain goes off like fireworks, and then it won't have any for a while, and then it'll be fireworks. And you see the world in such a different way, I think. And one thing that I really noticed and I really found empowering is how kind people are in the business world. Everybody wants to see others succeed, which is not something that you always see in the corporate world. That is my biggest takeaway. People want to help, they want to share, and they want to see you succeed, and they will help you. And don't ever be afraid to reach out and ask for it. That's what would be my kind of key message. But yeah, I think there's a lot to come from me in the early 2025. So watch this space. But yes, lots of little cogs are turning away in the background as we speak. So there'll be some delivery throughout next year.
I am so excited, and I remember being at the bar with you after we did Pitch Club in London, and just that fabulous conversation. And you're right, I've personally seen your evolution over the last year now, and just it's been incredible, that the confidence and almost that joy. Those of you who work with me know that I'll often say to you, where's your joy? And I don't come from, a fluffy woo place. It's so important, and I agree, Marcia. Go Naomi, totally. This is absolutely your year to come, and you're a real walking, talking example of someone who's found their joy, and I think that's fabulous. And you've got so much to give and share, and your knowledge.
Mm,
I've said to you many a time, I love our conversations because we can
I
talk for
do.
hours. It's and you're just a walking, talking example of just someone who has just that. You found what you want to do, you're getting into your groove, and you're going to make it happen. I just know you will.
Yeah, definitely. I just still think there's work to do.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
but we're always evolving, aren't we? Everything evolves, so we're always a work in progress.
I
We never stand still as humans and businesses in the world. It carries on turning.
Exactly. Now, Naomi, I've got some very grown-up questions for you. I don't know if you
Oh
saw
no.
Toby's last week. I'm going to start with the easy stuff, obviously, which is what is your favourite cheese, please?
Oh, see, I'm not a huge cheese fan, but I do like a camembert baked in the oven. And
Oh,
I've tried it with garlic. I'm not so keen with it with garlic, but I do like cranberry sauce at Christmas with it. That is yummy. And it's really nice with calamata olive bread as well. If anybody's not tried it with olive bread, it's really yummy.
gonna have to do that. Thank you for the tip there, Naomi. Thank you for the tip there. Now, I'm going to crescendo with this next question. What swimming pool, before I go any further, inflatable, do you feel you need to take on your next holiday? How I'm doing this with a straight face right now, I have no idea.
A rubber ring. It's got to be the rubber ring, hasn't it? I used to float around on a rubber ring in the sea as a child. The only thing is, I have the vision of being like, oh gosh, Menno brains kicked in. Gavin and Stacey, what's his friend's name where he gets stuck in the rubber ring on the beach? I can't remember his name.
Well, Toby's the same. He's a rubber ring. Toby, any idea on that? I can't remember the name. Uh, as we're trying to think about this colour, please, Naomi, what is the colour of your rubber ring?
Oh gosh. It's got to be multicolored, hasn't it? Like rainbow. It has to be rainbow.
Going with rainbow?
Going
Okay.
with rainbow.
Go with
Yeah.
rainbow.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, definitely.
Fantastic. I might have bought the Texas 4 unicorn rubber rings um when we were trying to sort out our retreat. And yeah, unfortunately, what I didn't take into consideration was the fact that actually the swimming pool, number one, was so cold that you couldn't go in it. It was salt based, so that never happened. So they were never set free, bless them.
Ah,
I know,
what
I
colour
know.
are they? Pink? Or were the unicorn like?
They were white with multicolour bits.
Okay.
I do have a couple of photographs which are not for air, but I will share them with business club members. So if that's not an incentive to join the business club, I don't know what is.
And there was no scorpions this time.
No scorpions. Mm-mm. No. Mm-mm. So, worst film you've watched this year?
Oh gosh. Oh, I don't know. I can't think. A lot, because this. I was going to swear then. Am I allowed to swear?
You're right,
No.
swear.
There's a lot of shite on Netflix, isn't there? So I
There
start
is.
things and I'm like, nah, this is tripe. It looks good, but it's not. It's just rubbish. So I don't know. I can't think of one, Sam.
There's no standout one.
No, there's no standout one. There's been quite a few rubbish ones. But then I'm not very good at remembering film names, really.
I'm
I'm
not.
more of a music person. I can't tell you I could see an actor's face in my mind, but I can't tell you his name. Like I've just demonstrated quite clearly, James Corden plays the character, but I have no idea what his name is in Gavin and Stacey.
If anyone can remember that name, please put it in the chat. That would be awfully helpful. It's going to drive me nuts now.
It's going to drive me nuts. You know, as soon as we come off this, I'm going to remember. And then I'll be like, oh, yeah, of course it is.
There it is.
Smithy. Isn't it Smithy?
That's it. We remembered.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh.
So, no, I can't help you with that one. I don't know because I'm rubbish with films, I'm afraid.
So Toby's just come through with Smithy as well. Thank you, Toby. We just got yay, Smithy. Yeah, Beth as well. Oh my days. So on to the serious stuff. If someone wants to get hold of you and is needing your help in 2025, what are the kind of things that you want to help them with next year? And how do they get in touch with you, please?
Okay, so there's a few things that you can ways you can work with me. So the first one is going to be focused to the HR practitioners amongst us, and all as I'm going to say is it will be based around resetting yourself and reflecting. So watch this space for that one. There'll be more information coming out soon, so I'll kind of prepare you. And beyond that, there's a course that I'm writing, and that will be tiered and phased. So it will depend on how businesses would like to engage with that, what works for them. So there'll be the course, then moving on from that, if they want that extra support, that coaching, that consulting, that qualitative, quantitative work, we can come in and help support that, and we'll then action plan with you moving forward and support you through those next steps to make your business, and I love this phrase, going from flappy to happy.
Yay! There it is, Debbie. Oh.
Because I truly believe that's where operational excellence lies. If you've got your people experience right, it filters into your customer experience. Then it obviously leads to operational excellence. And beyond that, it hits at a micro and macro level because it's going into homes, it's going into communities. If everybody's happy and feels supported and cared for in a way that works for them, it has the ability to share out into the world. That's what I believe, and whether that's garbage or not, that's what I'm trying to achieve.
Naomi, I love it. I love it. And I know you will achieve it. So I'm looking forward to working with you in 2025 to make that come true for you. And if someone wants to get hold of you, how do they reach you?
Yeah, you can either get me through LinkedIn or you can email me. I do have a website. It's thehrologist.co.uk. So feel free to reach out, even if you just want to chat and see how you can work with me, just get to know me. More than happy to build that community with you.
And please do. It's been an utter privilege getting to know Naomi this year. She's just an absolute just joy to have around. So do reach out to her. I genuinely mean that. And Naomi, my final question to you is, what have you got out of the business club so far, and what would you say to others who are on the fence with it right now?
Yeah, the value is incredible, and hearing how you explain some really complicated things as a new business owner is just mind-blowing. And the other thing that I really love is that you collaborate with Americans, and the community is both American and the UK. And the learnings that come from that are an absolute privilege to be within that community.
Oh, thank you, Naomi. It's lovely to have you there. And if anyone's listening or they're watching the recordings, if you're on YouTube, you'll see a little QR code. Please click on that to find out a little bit more, or visit us at mindabilitybusinessclub.com. I believe we are. I'm so used to it. Just like when you put your keys in the door and it just opens, it has that feel to it. But
It
come
really
check us out.
does. It really does.
Come check us out. It'd be lovely to see some of you there. I just want to say, Naomi, what an absolute delight it's been to have you on the show today. Thank you for coming on. Wishing you all the very best for 2025. I will be with you every step of the way to help you, so you're not going to be alone. But
Thank
I
you.
know it's going to be your year. Please, everyone, reach out to Naomi if you're looking for her support. She's brilliant. You cannot go wrong. Thank you to everyone who's joined us today, to Toby, to Marcia, to Beth. It's been lovely having you. Hope to see you again this time next week. Cue the music and we're out. Bye, everyone.
Thank you for having me. Bye, everyone.
Bye.